with Jeff from Divided Heaven. Welcome to Meet the Bands and welcome to Warped Tour. How are you doing, man?
Thank you for the warm welcome. I'm doing great.
Let me ask you this. Been to Utah before?
Yeah, many times.
Favorite thing about Utah?
You know, the people.
Yeah?
Honestly, the people are so nice. I've played Salt Lake a few times. I did a tour in May where I got to play in Ogden, and that was just incredible. It was one of the best shows of the tour, and everyone's just always really friendly.
Now, do you find places where people aren't always so friendly? Like, is there a thing where you're like, oh, man, the people of Sioux Falls, those are a bunch of jerks?
No, I mean, I don't want to generalize, but
let's generalize.
I would say that a lot of places in the South are not as friendly to touring musicians.
Really?
You would think that Southern hospitality would be.
But it doesn't extend itself into music.
No, I mean, I've also been treated like a king in Atlanta, Georgia, but then in,
But then you head over to Mississippi, and it's like, who's this guy?
Yeah. But no, I've never encountered anything drastically mean.
Let's talk about Divided Heaven. Where does the name come from, first of all?
It was a book and a film by Christa Wolf, who is a German author. And I read the book while I was studying in Berlin in 2003 during a study abroad thing. And the book was about a love story that was happening as the Berlin Wall was being erected.
Oh, cool.
The guy wanted to go to the west, the girl wanted to stay in the east. And I liked the idea of heaven, the word being used in a secular context.
Yeah.
So I stole the name. And the URL, dividedheaven.com.
And you can't have the URL either. Where are you from yourself?
Born and raised in Pennsylvania.
So then
college in D.C.
How does a kid from
But now I live in L.A.
College in D.C., born and raised in Pennsylvania, wake up and be like, hey, you know what I want to do? I want to go to school in Berlin. How does that work out?
Well, I was going to American University in Washington, D.C., and they have a very good abroad program, and I'm very bad at languages, at learning other languages.
You're bad at them?
I'm bad.
No,
I can barely speak English.
I can hear that.
Un poco español. But the German program was just something that really interested me, and there was no language. See?
Yeah,
bad English. No language prerequisites. So I just applied, got in, and went for 5 months and studied there.
Did your time in Berlin inspire you music? Obviously, it inspired the name of the band. But how about...
Yeah, absolutely. I was playing in a number of different bands, and I left them all. Just temporarily.
You left them all in D.C.?
In D.C. and Philly and on the East Coast to go study for 5 months. And it was the first time that I was ever just a full-time student with no job, no band, no extracurricular stuff. And I had my guitar with me, so I would just write songs. And that was the first time where I really started to write songs that didn't fit the mold of any of the bands I was playing in. And I just decided to start doing a solo project then. It wasn't until really 2009 when it came to fruition, but the idea was born in Berlin.
I think that's just a huge testament of your commitment to what you're doing. That's awesome to just be like, now I'm going to try my own thing.
Yeah, Well, like I said, it took a number of years for me to be like, all right, I'm really going to do this. Like I said, I can barely talk, so I had to learn how to sing.
Oh, sure,
sure.
So is this your first time doing Warped Tour?
My second time doing Warped Tour.
What's the experience being a veteran on the Warped Tour for you?
Well, I'm far from a veteran.
I did more than one time.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I love it. So I first of all, I'm always amazed at the amount of hard work that goes into it.
It seems astronomical. And when I talk to bands and they're like, the Warped Tour was great, but it was so exhausting. Seems to be always the next.
Yeah. I feel like if you're just a band playing, it's almost easier than if you're a merch person or a stagehand or you're working in catering or you're working in production. I'm just constantly amazed that everyone is as nice as they are and as patient as they are, considering that it's so much work every day, and it's like 14-hour days constantly for a long time. But
what's the big thing you learned over the first time? Like, you got done with doing Warped Tour the first time, and then you're like, man, I need to remember not to party that hard because some days it was really hard to get up and play, or you know what I'm saying? Was there anything that you took away from it that you're like, now doing it the second time, I'm going to do more press, or I'm going to, anything that you've learned that way?
You will get sunburned, so you have to lather up. You will get dehydrated, so you need to drink water constantly. You can't be a punisher, meaning you can't go up to bands and, oh man, I love your band,
Oh, really?
Although
you can't do
you
that.
can't really do that. Like,
how come? I would think it'd be a great chance where it's like, I guess you maybe have to play it cool.
You have to be a little more tactful than that, and you just can't be a naive jerk. Mm-hmm. If you get invited to play Warped Tour, you're expected to carry yourself with a certain amount of dignity and respect, and a certain amount of, you should know what's going on.
Sure.
So you can't be dumb. You know?
Are there any bands that are on the tour that you do get a little bit fanboyish of, or you're just like, oh my gosh, that band really? Who are they, or who inspired you?
Saves the Day
Yep.
changed my life.
Really?
And Chris Connolly, their main songwriter, is probably my favorite songwriter besides John Lennon. And
just lyrically, or
he's a tremendous guitar player too. But every record that band has done has sounded completely different, and they've always been progressing. And I think that says a lot for a band that's kind of under the punk and hardcore umbrella. It's really easy to do the same thing over and over and over again. And they've always pushed the limits, and sometimes they've gotten a little weird, and then sometimes they've kind of brought it back to the roots, and it's awesome. But I met him the other night, and I didn't have a freak out moment on the outside, but on the inside,
oh my gosh! I mean, it's cool. It's cool.
He and I had met in Pennsylvania in the mid or late '90s, forever ago. But he didn't remember me. I didn't expect him to remember me, but yeah. So definitely Saves the Day was. I came close to freaking out, but I didn't do it.
Well, good. It's Jeff from Divided Heaven. You get done with the whole Warped Tour thing. Then what's next? What do you guys?
I'm playing a week of shows by myself in Wyoming, Colorado, and New Mexico.
Okay.
And then I go home for about 10 days, and then I go to Japan. I'm doing a tour in Japan. And then I get home for 2 days. You've got fans, Richie.
I know. See, seriously.
And then after the Japanese tour, I'm doing a full band Divided Heaven West Coast tour.
Oh my
And
gosh.
then in mid-September, I can actually take a break and relax and go surfing and hang out.
So you mentioned surfing, and I was going to ask you, so what else do you do when you get that off time? You're not doing music. You're not flying to Berlin to be inspired.
I don't know. I mean, I quit my full-time job a few years ago, so I could do...
There you go.
Thank you. So I could do touring as much as possible, and I'm still booking a lot of my own stuff.
Yeah.
So I have a hard time relaxing. That drives my friends and my girlfriend crazy. So I imagine I'll probably keep myself very busy throughout the rest of the year, and then maybe in the wintertime hunker down for a few months and do nothing.
Well, you mentioned you own it, so go to dividedheaven.com for all the information that you need about Jeff from Divided Heaven. Thanks for taking a few minutes with us, man.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it, pal.
Militia, I never